The U.S., the Middle East, and world oil markets are bracing for Iran's response after President Donald Trump launched strikes on Iranian nuclear energy sites last night. It's the first time the U.S. has directly bombed the Islamic Republic. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has more from D.C.
The United Nations Security Council meeting in an emergency session this afternoon, and the Secretary General saying that diplomacy must prevail. Of course, all this comes after the U.S. launching a series of airstrikes against nuclear facilities inside Iran. Today, the Trump administration is calling it a military success and arguing that it was necessary to prevent the Iranian government from acquiring a nuclear weapon, something that President Trump, White House officials say, has been saying for decades. However, critics of the administration, including even a few Republicans, have been arguing that the White House is drawing the U.S. into another war. They're criticizing that. However, the administration, including Vice President J.D. Vance, pushing back against that, saying that this is part of what President Trump promised during the presidential campaign: peace through strength. However, there are concerns now about what happens next, whether Iran will retaliate against U.S. forces in the region. There are about 40,000 U.S. forces across the Middle East, but there are also questions about whether Iran or its proxies might retaliate against Americans here inside the United States. Just this afternoon, the Department of Homeland Security issuing a new bulletin warning of a heightened threat environment and warning that it's possible that Iran could launch low-grade cyber attacks against the U.S. The bulletin also saying there is a possibility for violent extremists to retaliate against the U.S. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Washington.